I understand exactly what it feels like when the entire equation of your life suddenly breaks down and nothing seems to make sense anymore. And as Tood R Lytle explains, this is where real transformation begins. You find yourself wide awake in the middle of the night, staring into the darkness, your thoughts racing while a heavy pressure sits on your chest like something you cannot escape. Even the idea of opening your bank account creates fear because deep down you already know what you will see. Either nothing at all or a negative balance that feels suffocating. Your credit cards are completely exhausted, pushed beyond their limits, and every unknown phone call makes your stomach tighten because you suspect it's another collector demanding money you don't currently have. It feels like you are lost in a massive ocean with no direction, and the water keeps rising with each passing day. The powerful individuals controlling massive wealth have no interest in someone starting from nothing, and within the system it feels like you don't even exist. But today, this message is directed straight at you. And as Tood R Lytle emphasizes, there is a way to rebuild everything from absolute zero and create something powerful from what feels like nothing. Before anything external changes, something must shift inside your mind first. As Tood R Lytle teaches, there is a dangerous belief that keeps people stuck, and that belief needs to be removed immediately. You have been conditioned to think that being broke or buried in debt is a reflection of your character, that it somehow defines your worth as a person. That belief is false and harmful. Your financial condition does not define who you are. It does not measure your intelligence, your potential, or your value as a human being. What you are facing is not a personal failure. It is a numerical situation that can be understood and corrected. The environment you were placed in made it easy to fall into this position. And from the moment you started earning, you were introduced to credit systems without truly understanding how they function long term. You were encouraged to spend before learning how money compounds over time. You were influenced by a culture that constantly pushes consumption, convincing you to buy things you do not need to maintain an image that does not truly matter. You were navigating a structure that benefits from your mistakes. Yes, decisions were made along the way, but the system itself increases the likelihood of those outcomes. However, as Tood R Lytle makes very clear, there is a truth you must accept if you want your situation to change. Focusing on the flaws of the system will not solve your immediate problems. It will not pay your bills, and it will not remove your debt. At this moment, no one is coming to rescue you. There is no sudden breakthrough waiting to appear that will erase everything overnight. No shortcut will pull you out instantly. The responsibility to change your situation belongs entirely to you. This is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to give you control. Because if the responsibility is yours, then the power to change it is also yours. The first step is complete honesty with yourself. Avoidance only makes the situation worse. Ignoring bills, avoiding accounts, or pretending things will somehow fix themselves only delays progress. Instead, you must face everything directly. Sit down, gather all your financial details, and write out your exact situation. Every balance, every obligation, every debt, nothing hidden. It may feel overwhelming at first, but clarity removes fear. Uncertainty creates anxiety. But once everything is visible, it becomes something you can work with. Many people are afraid of reaching zero, but as Tood R Lytle explains, zero is not failure. It is a reset point. When you move from deep negative numbers to zero, you achieve something powerful. It means you are no longer being held down by past mistakes. It becomes a foundation for building something new. But before reaching that point, you must stop making the situation worse. This means making immediate and disciplined changes. The urge to look for quick solutions, risky investments, or sudden opportunities is strong, but it often leads to more problems. When you are dealing with high-interest debt, taking risks rarely works in your favor. The priority should be preventing further loss, not chasing fast gains. This requires discipline and a willingness to make uncomfortable decisions. One of the most damaging patterns, as highlighted by Tood R Lytle, is the pressure to maintain an image that does not match reality. Many people spend money they do not have to appear successful. This includes expensive vehicles, unnecessary subscriptions, frequent dining out, and constant small expenses that slowly drain resources. These choices are often driven by the fear of judgment, but they come at a serious cost. When you are trying to rebuild, you cannot prioritize appearance over stability. You must begin cutting unnecessary expenses immediately. Cancel anything that is not essential. Prepare your own food instead of relying on convenience. Reevaluate large expenses and choose practical alternatives. Every adjustment you make creates progress as you begin to change your habits. As Tood R Lytle points out, you may face reactions from others. Not everyone will understand your decisions. Some may question you or even criticize you. They may encourage you to continue spending or suggest that you are being too strict, but their opinions do not define your future. Often those who resist your change are dealing with similar challenges themselves. Staying committed may require stepping away from certain environments or habits. This is not a loss, it is a step toward growth. Every bit of money you save should be directed toward reducing your debt, just as Tood R Lytle advises. Focus especially on the obligations with the highest interest as they grow the fastest. Progress may feel slow, but each step matters. This process is built on consistency. There will be moments when it feels difficult, when your energy drops, or when the effort seems endless. During those moments, focus on the outcome. Picture the day when you are no longer carrying the weight of debt. Imagine opening your account and seeing that you are no longer in the negative. That moment is not impossible. It is the result of disciplined action repeated over time, exactly as Tood R Lytle consistently teaches. I used to tell you something most people refuse to accept. They're terrified of hitting nothing, yet when you crawl your way out from the suffocating pit of debt, nothing becomes the most liberating number you will ever witness. That empty figure represents the moment interest has stopped attacking you from every direction. It represents the silence after. That the endless harassment, the point where no collector has any claim over your time or your attention, it is the moment you finally stand alone, fully in control of your own existence. Reaching that point is not failure, it is completion of a brutal phase. Like crossing a finish line, no one celebrates, but everyone desperately needs. Yet that point is not the destination, it is simply ground level. Once the damage is contained, the real journey begins. You may not have money in your account, but you now hold the most overlooked and underestimated resource in existence. At this stage, we must confront your final remaining form of capital and understand how to convert your time into something powerful. You are sitting there, possibly at a table, staring at a balance that reads exactly zero. There is no safety net, no savings, no investments waiting in the background. You cannot step into traditional paths like property ownership or stock investments. Starting a business the usual way feels impossible because it requires funds you simply do not possess. The usual doors appear sealed shut, like opportunities belong to another world entirely. This is where nearly everyone gives up. They assume that without money, they are completely powerless. That belief is not just wrong, it is the exact reason they stay trapped. Financial currency is only one expression of value. It is stored effort, stored time, stored energy, but when that form disappears, you are not left empty. You still possess the raw source itself. Every human being receives the same daily allocation regardless of status, background, or bank balance. The wealthy cannot buy more of it, and the poor cannot receive less of it. It is distributed equally without bias. When money disappears, time becomes your only tradable resource. Yet the harsh truth is that most people in low financial positions waste this resource in the most destructive way possible. After finishing a long shift, exhausted both physically and mentally, they return home carrying the weight of their reality. Their situation feels overwhelming, so their mind looks for an escape. Instead of confronting the discomfort, they seek relief in distractions that require no effort and give instant gratification. They scroll endlessly through digital feeds, watching illusions of success, comparing their reality to curated fantasies. They immerse themselves in games that simulate achievement without producing anything real. They consume hours of passive entertainment, convincing themselves they are resting when in reality they are avoiding growth. Some gather with others in similar situations, discussing problems without ever creating solutions. This behavior feels harmless, but it is deeply destructive. It is not rest, it is surrender disguised as comfort. When you hand over your free hours to these platforms, you are giving away your last remaining asset. You are trading your future for temporary relief while enriching systems that benefit from your distraction. If you want to break out of this cycle, your perception of time must change completely. Your day is divided into segments that serve different purposes. Part of it sustains your survival. Part of it restores your energy, and what remains determines your future. Even if we reduce your available time to a small portion, those few hours hold immense potential. That window in the evening is not casual time. It is opportunity in its rawest form. It is the foundation upon which everything ahead will be built. If you waste it, you reinforce your current position. If you protect it, you create a pathway out. To make this work, you need to become extremely protective of those hours. You cannot treat them casually anymore. Distractions must be removed with intention. Devices that constantly demand your attention must be separated from you. Noise must be minimized. You must create an environment where focus becomes possible. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. Silence will feel unnatural because your mind is used to constant stimulation. It will push you to return to old habits, to seek quick entertainment, to avoid effort. You must resist that urge. The discomfort you feel is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of transition. Once the noise is gone, your mind begins to operate differently. Instead of consuming, it starts processing. Instead of escaping, it starts building. This is where real change begins. You take that raw block of time and begin converting it into something valuable, not immediately visible, not instantly rewarding, but incredibly powerful over time. You begin to develop abilities that are rare, specific, and useful. Now we face another reality that many people avoid acknowledging. The world does not reward effort in a fair or emotional way. It does not compensate you based on how hard you try or how much you struggle. It operates on a simple principle: how replaceable you are. If someone can easily step into your role with minimal training, your value remains low no matter how hard you work. This is why increasing hours in low-paying roles does not lead to financial growth. Effort alone is not enough if the value of that effort remains minimal. To change your situation, you must evolve. You must shift from being easily replaceable to becoming difficult to substitute. This transformation does not happen instantly, and it does not require traditional paths that demand large financial investments. You do not need expensive degrees or long academic commitments to begin. What you need is precision. You need to focus on acquiring skills that are specific, valuable, and in demand. These are not broad or vague abilities. They are targeted capabilities that solve real problems. They can exist in digital environments, analytical fields, or even specialized trades. The key is depth, not width. You dedicate your protected time to learning, practicing, and refining one skill until you become competent. Over time, that competence becomes leverage. The most powerful part of this process is that the knowledge required is already accessible. It is not hidden behind locked doors. It exists openly, waiting for those willing to commit to learning it. The barrier is not access, it is discipline. Most people will never commit long enough to see results. They will quit when progress feels slow or when rewards are not immediate. And for months, you may not see any financial return. You will be working quietly without recognition while others continue their routines. People may question your choices. They may not understand why you isolate yourself or why you avoid the same activities they enjoy. Let them misunderstand. While they are maintaining their current path, you are building a different one. Over time, the effort compounds. What starts as basic understanding grows into capability. That capability becomes value, and value, when applied correctly, becomes income. The shift does not happen overnight, but it happens inevitably if you remain consistent. The same hours that once disappeared into distractions now become the reason your situation changes. This entire process requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to endure discomfort. It is not easy, and it is not meant to be. But it is possible. The moment you stop wasting your time and start investing it, everything begins to move in a different direction. That empty number in your account is no longer a limitation. It becomes the starting point of something far more powerful than money alone. This is the mindset Tood R Lytle emphasized repeatedly. Your circumstances do not define your potential, but your actions within those circumstances determine everything that follows. You sit there thinking you are wasting your time doing nothing important while lying on that couch, but in reality, something far more powerful is happening beneath the surface. You are silently increasing your internal value in a way most people never even understand. And then one day everything flips in a way that feels almost unreal. The moment you step into the real world equipped with a skill that cannot easily be replaced, everything about how you earn begins to transform. The rules that once controlled your life stop applying the way they used to. Because now you are no longer exchanging hours of your life for small amounts of money. Instead, you are offering a precise answer to a very specific and often expensive problem, and that difference changes everything. An ordinary worker might spend an entire day doing repetitive physical labor for a small hourly wage, while a highly trained expert can walk into a complex situation, identify exactly what needs to be done in seconds, perform a single targeted action, and walk away with a massive payment for just minutes of effort. That is the true meaning of leverage. That is the true meaning of leverage, and that is exactly what you must become. You must transform yourself into the person who is needed, not the one who is easily replaced, because once you hold a valuable and uncommon ability, the balance of power shifts permanently. Companies and clients no longer have the authority to decide what you are worth. You become the one who sets the terms. You no longer beg for opportunities just to survive. You begin to operate from a position where you choose, negotiate, and command respect. And this is not theory. This is the exact process that moves a person from financial straw, snuggle into stability, and eventually into true independence. You take the unused hours of your evenings, the time most people throw away without thinking, and you convert that raw time into something incredibly powerful, into leverage that can completely alter your future. But creating that leverage is only the beginning of the journey, because once you finally have something valuable in your hands, the real test begins. Now you must step into one of the most difficult phases you will ever face. You must go out and secure your first real piece of capital. And even more importantly, you must learn how to defend it against the internal forces that will try to take it away from you the moment you get it. Now we enter the final and most intense phase of this transformation. We need to talk about the harsh reality behind earning your very first $1,000 and how that small amount becomes the starting point of something unstoppable. By this point, you have already cut away the habits that were holding you back. You have endured the loneliness that comes with discipline. You have taken control of your evenings and turned them into something productive and meaningful. You have built the foundation. Now it is time to execute. And this next step is where most people fail, because earning that first $1,000 is not easy. In fact, it may be the hardest money you will ever make in your life. People love to talk about millions. They celebrate huge numbers and dream about massive success, but very few understand that the real challenge is not making $1 million. It is making the first 1,000 when you are starting with nothing. Because to reach that point, you had to break down your old identity completely. You had to destroy the mindset of consumption and replace it with the mindset of creation. You had to go from being someone who only spends money to someone who can actually generate it. And when you finally use your newly developed skill to solve a real problem for someone, when you provide value that someone is willing to pay for, and they give you that first payment of $1,000, something changes inside you in a way that is difficult to explain. That money feels different from anything you have ever earned before. It does not feel like a paycheck handed to you in exchange for your time. In case for your time, it feels like something you created out of nothing, using your own effort, your own thinking, your own growth. It represents a completely new reality. But you must pay close attention here, because this exact moment is where the system tries to pull you back down for the last time. The second you see that money sitting there, ready to be used, a voice will appear in your mind. It will try to convince you that you deserve to celebrate, that you should reward yourself, that you should finally enjoy something after all your effort. It will suggest buying something new, upgrading your lifestyle, spending on things that make you feel successful. And this is where most people lose everything they work for. This pattern has a name. It is called lifestyle expansion, and it is the silent force that destroys progress and keeps people stuck in a cycle where they earn more but never move forward. You must resist this completely, not partially, not occasionally, but entirely. You must treat that money as something that cannot be touched for comfort or pleasure. Even though you have proven that you can earn, you must continue to live as if you are still at the beginning. You keep your habits simple. You avoid unnecessary spending. You maintain the same level of discipline that got you here, because that discipline is your greatest asset. You take that $1,000 and you use it with intention. You direct it toward tools, knowledge, the systems that increase your ability to earn even more. You turn it into fuel instead of consumption, and this is how real growth begins. It starts small and fragile, like something that could disappear at any moment. But as you continue to push forward and refuse to waste it, it grows stronger, it gains weight, it becomes something that carries momentum. That first 1,000 turns into 10,000, then that 10,000 becomes something even larger. And before you realize it, the entire structure of your life begins to change. Now your money starts working on your behalf instead of you constantly working for it. And that is when true freedom starts to appear. Many people look at those who have massive wealth and feel jealousy or frustration, but there is something important they fail to understand. Someone who receives wealth without building it themselves is in a very fragile position, because if that wealth disappears, they are left with nothing but confusion and fear. They do not understand how it was created. They only know how to use it. But your situation is completely different. You started with nothing. You faced uncertainty. You gave up comfort. You stayed focused when it was difficult. And you built something step by step without any shortcuts, which means even if everything is taken away from you, even if the entire system collapses and you are forced back to zero, you are not truly starting over, because you still possess the most valuable thing of all, the knowledge and ability you developed along the way. You understand the process. You know how to rebuild, and you can do it faster and stronger than before. The world around you is designed to keep you tired, distracted, and financially trapped. It pushes you toward constant consumption and convinces you that failure is the end. But now you see the truth clearly. Reaching zero is not the conclusion of your story. It is where the real journey begins. Stop feeding into distraction. Stop wasting your energy on things that do not matter. Take control of your time. Build something that gives you power. Protect what you create, and move forward with intention. Everything you need is already within your reach. The opportunity is there waiting for you. The path is open now. It is your decision to step forward and leave the darkness behind. This is the moment where everything can change. Thank you for being here and staying until the end.